time to get geeked up.
Obviously, we're still under quarantine, so you can hear me. Wish we could be doing this one live, but the Zoom thing's been working out for us.
Yes, definitely one of the a bittersweet 5th year anniversary to not be able to do it live and direct, but very as well suiting to the last couple months of we've spun off with our whole life in Coronaville podcast and incorporated Zoom into the whole Geeked Up podcasting thing, so definitely taking full advantage of it, like you said, as we were able to reunite with every guest, every voice that you've ever heard here on the Geeked Up podcast, as well as some ones that you've only heard via email. Even.
That's true.
And only heard the legend. I've only heard on Seinfeld Night at Citi Field. But literally, we've gotten like 10 to 15 of our closest geeked friends to join us over the course of the show and hang out. So that's going to be super fun.
Some old faces, some new faces. And yeah, I guess the quarantine's kind of bittersweet because I feel like a lot of these people would have been hard to get on if we were doing these live still and didn't have the whole idea of using Zoom.
Definitely not letting Ron the waiter back in my house, so I guess lucky for him, they've invented Zoom because...
Very true, very true. So we're going to hear from a lot of people on this one, celebrating with us.
Celebrating the 5th year anniversary, much like college. It's been a great 5 years. And but 5 years to the week, actually, of our first upload to the SoundCloud. As of course, you'll kind of maybe we'll joke around throughout the course of the show, but we started the whole thing around May the 4th.
Correct. It was too big of a geeked up day to pass by.
But that was pretty much like me and you just hanging out, like talking about all the action on that May the 4th, being like, dude, we should do a podcast about all this. Yeah. And then a couple days later, we found ourselves up in the Bronx actually getting it going. Then, we had the whole test run. We of course had to wait for the Andre Davi soundtrack.
There were some hurdles.
Yes, there were some hurdles as well. I got lost on the way to the Bronx one time, and we had to cancel an episode.
Yeah, we forgot to hit record one time. I might have gotten too drunk one time. There was
always that. There was technical difficulties, alcoholic tendencies, all sorts of hurdles, like you said. But
Game 3 of World Series.
Game 3. We've overcome it all over the last 5 years. And now, excited to be celebrating on the SoundCloud. However, and I guess we've been teasing some big announcements. We've got some additions to the Geeked Up family here.
Oh, yeah. Not just the iTunes, not just SoundCloud, not just Facebook, not just the email. Yes, not just the Zoom room. Bunch of new places you can find us now. Liam, I'll let you kind of kick it off there and...
Yes, after 5 years of threatening the world that we were going to do it, we finally uploaded to Twitter. So you can hit us up, follow us rather, at Geeked Pods on Twitter, all right? So the ampersand, @ whatever the fuck, Geeked Pods on Twitter, all right? As well, right. A very cool addition to the whole Geeked Up thing, but as well we have started our own YouTube channel, Geeked Pods on YouTube, okay? And the YouTube page is going to be real cool. We're going to be putting up, lot more kind of like best of clips from all of our past catalog, as well as, new episodes come out. We'll give you best of the new episodes that are coming out. So we'll have the full links available, of course, on iTunes, SoundCloud, as well as Spotify. But and then you can get best of clips on YouTube at Geeked Pods, as well as we'll have a lot more other fun kind of content that we're always talking about.
Some videos we'll be throwing up there.
Exactly, yeah, different trailer links and all sorts of things that we can put up on Geeked Pods at YouTube. So really excited. We got a lot of stuff going on the channel there. Like even for example, but as you're gonna hear throughout the show, we have sat down with all of our past guests and sat down with interviews. All of those interviews are individually, as well as the full unedited versions. All right, so you're getting extra cage talk out of Mans and whatnot, but all of them individually on the YouTube page. Okay, so let's be honest. If you don't want to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, but you want to hear Ron the Waiter's segment on the Geeked Up Pod, boom, you go to Geeked Pods at YouTube, and individually all of the links are there. So lots of cool stuff like that to check out. As well, don't forget to check out the Twitter page at Geeked Pods on Twitter, because we got a lot of takes throughout the week in the geek world.
I've got a lot to say in 140 characters or less.
Exactly. And I found out you can always post back-to-back times. So 140 my ass. If I got 280, you're listening. Much like this show, you're going to have to do it in several increments. From one of
See if you can tell which one of us is tweeting about what. We're both going to be using the same account. That's a fun enough game.
Yeah, play the game of the... man, Devin really likes professional wrestling news, huh? And that Liam's always talking about Game of Thrones. So, definitely, like we said, real excited to be stepping into the year 2013... with our Twitter page and YouTube channel. And I guess that does bring up another thing we should get into, as we as well have kind of got, the line cut on us here a little bit. But so don't be confused if there's 2 Geeked Up podcasts when you search these various platforms. Because, like I said, especially on YouTube and Twitter, it's Geeked Pods. Because Geeked Up Podcast, I guess you snooze, you lose in the social media world.
Yeah, we should have jumped on sooner. Literally, if we would have been on this like 3 months sooner, I think we would have beat them to it.
Yes, as we've talked a lot about before, or joked around a lot on the Geeked Up podcast over the last couple months. But there's a new Geeked Up, podcast in town, and the Geeked Up boys from north of the border, we believe, are.
I'm still questioning. Oh yeah, because that's a good point too. We do think it's the same guys that showed up on SoundCloud real fast.
Yes,
and then
they have kind of switched their. They still have their SoundCloud page, but they've kind of switched. The conspicuous by their ad. They're a little silent. We're the Geeked Up boys on SoundCloud. So, however, me and you have come to find out that much like everybody else in the world, they have focused on all of the other social media outlets, i.e. Spotify, YouTube, and Twitter. So make sure to check them out as well at Geeked Up Podcast, because I'm sure they got they're talking anime and comic books and all the same shit we are. So always room for more Geeked Up podcasting in your life. So
honestly, fingers crossed, really, guys, for the crossover episode. A real Jetsons meets the Flintstones.
Absolutely. After 5 years, we're gonna we have to definitely come face to face with our geeked brothers. But so definitely check them out and Geeked Up Podcast on the various platforms, and check us out, the Geeked Up Podcast, at Geeked Pods on the various platforms.
We'll post it all online too.
Yeah, a little confusing, but it'll obviously hyperlinks will be set in place.
We're also Geeked Pods because, we have the Geeked Up podcast, we have Netflix and chat, maybe some big LW clips will be on there too. You never know.
That's true, exactly. We've got some game times we're going to be trying to get back into here as the next 5 years of the phase 2 of this Geeked Up reopening gets launched into. But as we enter the next 5 years, we got a lot more stuff in store. So I feel it's time to kind of broaden our horizon a little bit into the Geeked Pods format. Because, as you might hear even later on, but the Reeked Up boys are back in action, and Agent Ronnie might need a platform come November. So...
I guess to even add to the confusion, though, our email, though, is still thegeekedupodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Just because we're Geeked Pods doesn't mean that we're not still the Geeked Up Podcast, because according to Gmail, we were here first, goddammit. So, of course, you got to put that "the" in there. I'm sure they have the non-the Geeked Up podcast, though. Should we just make a trade with these assholes and figure it out? We'll talk.
No, I actually know what their email is, but I'm not going to drop it because
Okay, I see.
But
Yes,
it's definitely
we'll wait to
a
talk
case of
soon.
us getting there first.
Okay, that's true. But okay, so yes, we're still the Geeked Up Podcast at Gmail, as well as Geeked Up Podcast on SoundCloud. However, Geeked Pods on YouTube, at Geeked Pods on Twitter. So,
And I guess even with that too, we only had 5 years to do those couple things. So expect a couple of more announcements coming out in the near future. Maybe some websites, maybe different other fun places to find us. So keep a lookout for that. Of course, we will let you guys know. 5 years wasn't a long enough time, right?
yeah. Well, we lived up to our word, however. All right, we said 5 years ago we said we were going to do something, and we did it. God damn it! But as well, I guess we've paid reference to it. But we as well have the Friday night Zoom room that's been going on every week. So check our Facebook page for the weekly code for that. But that's been a lot of fun seeing our geeks. But some of the voices you'll hear, some of them, have been new to the Geeked Up podcast via the Zoom experience. But that's been a real fun spin-off project for us as well. Part of the whole Geek podcast thing. So.
Yeah, no, it has, especially too when it started. Because I think we've been doing that for like 2 months now, and 2 months ago it was like deep quarantine, like no one was leaving their houses, so it was just kind of nice to see faces. And now it's 2 months later, and stupid Ron just keeps showing up, but it's still nice to see everyone.